I'm more than a rare exception, you can't compare him. I'm fly as Tuskegee Airman. My patience is as thin as her pins. You find a sucker cat that's talking smack and I'll just dare him. Come at me sideways attacking, I'm pushing back.
3 count commentaries on the air. We talking about this 2-hour episode of Monday Night Raw. 2 hours. It went by pretty quickly, I guess. Shortest episode of Raw since 2012, if I remember correctly. So, this is also the first Monday Night Raw that was not dominated by Judgment Day shenanigans. So we got to get into it. Not a lot of news and notes outside of this. I do want to mention this. I was going to save it for NXT, but I'm just going to say it here. I saw a couple of, maybe a lot of sites and, some people online making jokes about NXT having to move to a smaller building once they announced that they were going to be in St. Louis. And they weren't selling tickets. And everybody was like, NXT sucks. And then it turns around that Raw was in the same city the day before. And nobody said anything. Nobody said that Raw was going to be in St. Louis the day before NXT. So if you are a wrestling fan, which show are you going to go to? You're going to go to Raw. I mean, I love me some NXT. I might make the decision to go to NXT instead. But when you book these shows back to back like this, you set NXT up for failure. It's very unfortunate. I don't like that. And I wish people would be honest about WWE being in competition with itself and pretty much forcing NXT into a smaller building by, putting Raw on right before it. That's unfortunate. Anyway, because WWE was in St. Louis, Sexy Red's here. And she didn't do much of anything, but she made an appearance and my skin crawled. I got the jeebus because Sexy Red was around. She didn't want anything. She did a segment with Ethan Page, who was going to Adam Pearce to snitch about CM Punk. But it ended up being an Ava decision, and her big head self was there. And she's still very bad at talking, especially bad. But, she keeps a job because who her dad is. I hate to be that way, but it is. But Sexy Red's around. I hope everybody got tested. Whatever she's spreading is probably airborne. All right, CM Punk was the first guy to come out of the chute. He's limping. He's not even using all of his fingers. He's taped up. He's down bad. So he says he's no condition to walk to the ring. So he's going to talk from the top of the ramp. Says that he had to come to the town to see everybody. He's alive. He's a winner, but he doesn't feel like it. He's banged up worse than he's ever been banged up before, but he had to thank 3 sets of people. 1, his fans. 2, his peers. And 3, those who don't like him at all. Because for the people who don't like him at all, he turned your hate into cash. And he doesn't understand why those people keep doubting him. So then he turns around to leave because he ain't seen his wife in a month and a week. So 5 weeks. And he spins about, and there is Seth Rollins. And Seth Rollins approached him. They have a little bit of a stare down where Rollins is wearing these weird Matrix sunglasses. I don't know why he insists on being sci-fi, but at least he's not wearing women's clothes again. So Rollins saunters to the ring to talk about Bronson Reed, who is also not there. He said that he had a message that if Bronson Reed wanted to make a name for himself, he says, 5 or 6 tsunamis later, I know your damn name. I'll fight you anytime, anywhere. You name the place one-on-one. But this time, I'll be ready for you, and I'll know you're coming. So as he's cutting the end of his promo, Jey Uso comes out there, and Jey Uso is standing around, yeeting. And Seth Rollins gets the creeps and he leaves because he don't like Samoans. He's a racist. He's not a big fan of these Samoan fellas, so he's leaving. Even though Jey Uso, what did Jey Uso do? Oh, I guess he did beat his ass a couple of times. I guess he did beat his ass. All right, so these 2 to 3 promos are kind of stuck together. Let's separate them. Punk's promo was pretty good. Obviously, this is him writing himself out of the show because he does not want to go to Saudi Arabia, which is what I talked about on the Bad Blood review about whether Punk would even make the trip. He's not going. So he basically had himself killed, nearly killed. So he's an old man now. He needs to go recuperate. So he's going to be gone until after Crown Jewel, where he will magically return after his time in the hyperbolic time chamber, and he'll come out with more bags under his eyes and more gray hair, but at least he won't be walking like, a stuffed wino. Now, Seth Rollins, okay, he cut a promo on Bronson Reed, and it was what it was. Nothing special. Nothing lost. I don't understand why Seth Rollins needs to welcome us to Monday Night Raw when Sexy Red just did that. Just seems a little over the top. But people seemed happy Seth was there. They were okay with him being there. Match 1, Xavier Woods versus Jey Uso. 90% of this match was in commercial. Literally picture in picture for like 85 to 90% of this match. Jey Uso wins. Only interesting note is that Xavier Woods has a Dragon Ball tattoo. He's got one of those Goku kanji on the inside of his right arm, if I remember correctly. And it is the King Kai symbol that he wore on the back of his King Kai gi. Very interesting. I think it means the King of Worlds or something like that. And he lost, which is very un-Goku-like. After the match, Xavier Woods refuses to shake Jey Uso's hand, even though Jey Uso dapped it up with Kofi because they're on good terms. After all of this, Braun Breaker destroys Jey Uso with a spear. Kofi Kingston's like, yo, man, we got to go help. And Xavier Woods like, why? He's on his own. It's just him, Uso. And then Kofi Kingston gets in the ring. He gets speared too. He rolls out of the ring. Kofi's wearing like pajamas or something at some point. He's just very leisure. He's wearing leisure clothes, I guess. Braun Breaker runs around the ring, spears Xavier Woods too. Refuses to respond to questions about why he did this, which should be obvious to anybody. He was the Intercontinental Champion. He lost to Jey Uso. He gave him his respect last week, but this week, no respect. Braun Breaker will be fighting Kofi Kingston next week, so Kofi's going to have to sharpen the kid up a little bit. The match, from what we could see, was fine. Jey Uso is still a passable pro wrestler. He's not going to go out there and have the match of the night. He's a great character guy. And him being the champion for a while ought to be fun. Playing off of the years of respect between New Day and the Usos is a good look. And I do appreciate that. Because we already know that the Usos and the New Day have a long history. Real long history. So playing into that a little bit would have been fun. It would have been nice to do that verbally with, some promos and stuff, where they could have talked about their history of the Usos versus the New Day, and now how it's a singles thing when it used to be a tag team thing, but the respect should still be there. That would have been nice. But we had to spend time with Seth Rollins, who said nothing, did nothing. Instead, we could have invested more people into this match. Because a lot of people remembered when the New Day when the Usos stepped aside to let Kofi get his championship match at WrestleMania, and he became the champion. That could have been an interesting thing that they could have played with here. And then, of course, all the tag team matches that they had against each other. That could have been an interesting soil to play with here. But no, we got to get right into the match and then bury the match in commercials. So there it is. Rhea Ripley cut a promo basically saying that she can't, Liv Morgan can't win on her own. And now she just guaranteed herself another beating. Liv Morgan came out later talking about how she still has everything and now she's gained Raquel. So she wins even when she loses. And that they're now focused on Nia Jax. They're moving on from Rhea Ripley. Dominic said that they were leaving, so they left. Raquel was being asked questions about whether she was in Judgment Day. Nobody's willing to answer those questions because nobody cares. So let's talk about this real quick. Apparently, according to the dirt sheets, there was a botch in that women's world championship match, and Liv was supposed to win the match by pinfall. And that Raquel was either early or late, and the referee saw her attack Rhea when she wasn't supposed to. Or whether he was, I don't know whether the referee was a man or a woman. It doesn't matter. The referee saw Raquel and just had to call for the bell. So, that cut through a monkey wrench in what they're doing, but also their stupid crown jewel championship thing threw a monkey wrench in what they were doing. Because if the point was for Liv to get a singles pin on Rhea Ripley, she's got to get that pin, right? So how is she going to get the pin now? You've already booked Liv to wrestle Nia Jax in like 4 weeks. So you're going to have a match between Rhea and Liv between now and then so that Liv can get that pinfall win? Or are we just going to let the disqualification thing linger for weeks and weeks and weeks? I don't know. But this is the folly of booking non-canon junk in the middle of your storyline. Because now they can't comfortably move on because the story was thrown a monkey wrench. So that means that there has to be another match. Just like when Gunther and Randy Orton had their botched finish, I'm guessing they're just going to push Rhea and Liv further out and maybe have Rhea cost Liv the match against Nia Jax, which I guess is possible. But of course, there's also a little bit of conversation about whether Tiffany Stratton should just cash in and take the belt off Liv and run off with it. I don't know. I don't see that they're doing anything on Raw to build up another contender that could take that belt from Liv. So the guess would either be they're going to switch it to Tiffany Stratton or they're going to put it back on Rhea. One or the other. Because they really haven't done anything else with the women's division on Raw. As we can see on the show where they had that 10-woman tag match that's full of people who are not over. And, you know, everybody was just wondering why that thing was going on at all. So, there that is. It wasn't a lot, but it was enough. Raquel is China now. She's just wearing shades and folding her arms and standing there. All right, the second match on the show, Sheamus defeated Pete Dunne in the Donnybrook. Sheamus won the match after with his arms zip tied behind his back. So, small foot European Pete Dunne, take that. Too many lies. Too many lies. Karrion Kross and the Miz is backstage. Miz is tired of being mistreated. Everybody forgot that he's awesome. R-Truth said he's not in Judgment Day anymore. It must have been some kind of confusion. Miz said he wasn't confused. He did it on purpose. R-Truth said their kids play together. Why I gotta be like this? And said that he's going to go and get Miz a match. And Miz says, yeah, go get me a match with you next week. We could have cut this off the show too, by the way. Karrion Kross. Why is he talking to the Miz? Miz said he's not joining the Final Testament. It's like he doesn't fit anyway. For God's sake. Why would he need to be there? Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes was there to give Sami Zayn a pep talk, because this is what these guys do to each other now. And says he doesn't want to talk about the Kevin Owens thing. Nobody's allowed to talk about it, even though it was alluded to 2 or 3 times. Sami Zayn also said that he's going to be the guy that Cody's going to be fighting that crown jewel. Nope, not going to happen. Ethan Page, I already talked about that. There's a 10-woman tag. Isla Dawn, Alba Fire, Zoe Stark, Mr. Shayna Baszler, Sonya Deville versus Lyra Valkyria, Zelina Vega, Katana Chance, Kaden Carter, and Natalya. It was exactly what you think it is. Whatever you think it is, that's what it is. Lyra Valkyria pinned Sonya Deville because the match doesn't matter and nobody cares. And that's that. Okay. It's a shame. You know, some of these people have potential. Sonya has potential. She's just a jabroni now. Zelina has potential. Lyra has potential. Lyra getting the pin is probably for the best because she's the strongest of the singles, competitors in this match. And probably the most likely person, if they're going to take the belt off Liv Morgan and give it to somebody else, it would probably be Lyra Valkyria. She was supposed to be like the second coming of Becky Lynch. Becky took her sweet time to raise Lyra Valkyria, like the Lion King, and Triple H just, nope, not at all. We not playing that one. She's staying right here, as a bargaining chip. I guess you want Lyra to move up the card, you're gonna have to come back and move her up yourself. Everybody else just exists. The Pure Lesbian Collective, the Lesbian Experience, or whatever they're calling them. What a disaster. They kept showing flickering lights and things like this, which of course portends the Wyatt Six. I guess they're going to attack the Miz, I'm guessing. I don't care. All right, I don't care. Also, there was no American Maid on the show, no Chad Gable at all. So we're seeing that they really are taking. You can see who all the extras were. That Raw was being 3 hours really helped certain people, because there was no Damian Priest to speak of, no Finn Balor to speak of, no Harry Kate to speak of, no Bronson Reed, even though I guess you could take him off for a week to sell his match. No Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre has 16 staples in his head, for God's sake. And apparently he got hard-weighed in the dome piece with that toolbox, which led, right back to talk about how reckless CM Punk was with the toolbox. And I mentioned that he had gotten himself a pretty good gusher going. And well, that kind of happens when your skull is open. Like his whole skull was open. I know Vince was floored, disgusted even. You might write a newspaper article about how Triple H needs to tone back all of the blood, like he did with WCW. Okay, main event. I wasted enough time. Gunther defeats Sami Zayn in the most obvious main event match ever, with the most boring finish ever. And as much as I like Gunther, I think he's a really incredible talent. Great selling, great worker, great facial expressions, carries himself well, carries himself like a champion. But that sleeper is incredibly boring. It's boring. When they did the powerbomb spot where Sami Zayn kicked out at 1, and it looked like he was, wide awake, like he was going to hulk up or something. And then Gunther just grabs him in the sleeper. The crowd died. And then they tried to, just have Sami Zayn fight back, and then choked out in the sleeper. It's like, no, you're just laying there doing nothing. And it's not exciting. It sucks. I know that in modern day, it's a good thing to use old moves as finishers, and people are going to be like, oh, it's refreshing that a sleeper can be a legitimate finish. It's like, yeah, maybe, but I don't really care to watch people get choked out and just flop dead. It needs to, if you're going to have a submission finisher, it should be an exciting finisher. We've seen hundreds of exciting finishers in wrestling. The sleeper is not one of them. Try something different. I know the sleeper is a classic, and it's a legit move like you'll see in UFC. There's a bunch of people who get beat with rear naked chokes, but he didn't tap out. You had to hold him in this move for several seconds so that he can play dead and we can end this thing. So I absolutely hate this finisher. I hate it. The powerbomb is a simple move. It would have been fine. The top rope splash, also a simple move. Could have been fine. But that chokehold, him beating people with this chokehold, I don't like it. And I don't like it when it's supposed to be people like Sami Zayn who are plucky underdog baby faces, because they should be able to fight out of this kind of thing. You know, like Sami Zayn can't get out of a sleeper. Guy been in the business 20 some odd years. He can't get out of a sleeper. Yeah, it's kind of nonsense. So I think he should, vary his moves up. But generally speaking, I do like Gunther. Cody came out to, confront Gunther after the match. Not that there's any heat there. Why would there be? They are booked by convenience. Oh, I'm going to wrestle you next. Why? Because Triple H said so. Why? Oh, because he's too lazy to book our whole card. All right. So there's Monday Night Raw. That's pretty much it. 2 hours. Not bad. It wasn't terrible for 2 hours. But you can see that they're going to have to rotate talent. And the original format of these really long promos on Raw, they're going to have to stop doing them, at least until the beginning of the year. Because with 2 hours, you don't have a lot of time to spread around anymore. So you're going to have to get to the point. Punk needed his promo because he's got to say goodbye, and then he's got to explain why he's not going to be there for the next couple of weeks. But Seth Rollins could have did what he did in a backstage promo. He didn't need to be in the ring with, with all the fans and everything. That wasn't really all that necessary. But the matches were fine. Intercontinental Championship match, I wish it hadn't been completely gobbled up by commercials. It might have been interesting. The 10-woman tag, I wasn't interested. Also wasn't interested in Pete Dunne and Sheamus. I mean, it was fine in terms of a brawl with them hitting each other with, cricket bats and stuff like this. But I don't care about Pete Dunne. I just don't care. And there's nothing you can do to make me care. And the main event was fine until the finish. That really boring ass sleeper hold, it sucks. I don't really care to watch guys get put to sleep. You put me to sleep. All right. Like, share, subscribe. Talk to you guys later. Peace out.
No one does it better.